Travis, we're back, dude. We had some major technical difficulties there trying to connect. Gotta love it, as usual. But we are here, man. Welcome. We're doing week 8 waiver wire. Can't believe it's already into week 8. But we have a bunch of waiver wire guys that we're going to talk about today, as well as Ask Whisper Nation. If they have any questions, we'll get to those as to who they should add and drop, or they should drop to pick up some of these guys. But Travis, my main man, you can find him on Twitter at BigTravyTFW. How you doing, my brother?
Doing pretty good. You know, we're into week 8 now. We got to put week 7 behind us. Some exciting football that happened in week 7. Some big names once again going down with injury. And so that means we've got to fire up our waiver wire brains here, our spidey senses, and pick up some guys that we can help us make this push. Johnny, 7 weeks in, which means we've got 6 weeks left to make the fantasy playoffs. So Whisper Nation is out there trying to get it done. If you're out there, throw us a like, hit us with a subscribe on the channel, and we will start working through some of these names, some of these guys that are piquing our interest for the waiver wires.
We do release content daily, so make sure you're hitting that bell so you get notified anytime when we go live, and then or drop new content. And then sometimes you just get lucky and we just decide, hey, let's just go live. We were going to release this show a little bit later, but we said, nah, let's jump on, let's go live, let's talk with Whisper Nation and give them some names that they might want to look out for on their waiver wire. So, as per usual, always go and check our website, thefantasywhispers.com. We have past waiver wire articles up there, so you always want to go and take a look at even past waiver wire articles, because we do write-ups on those guys, and even if maybe a couple weeks ago it wasn't relevant, now you can go back. For example, a guy we're going to talk about today, a little, foreshadowing event here, would be running back Carlos Hyde, who I know that Travis wrote about a few weeks ago on the waiver wire article. And so if you want to read that, go over to thefantasywhispers.com and check out the waiver wire article over there. But Travis, I think we should just jump on in here. What do you think?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm excited.
All right, so we are going to start with the running back position. Then we'll jump over to the wide receivers, and then we'll give you one tight end and a streamer quarterback. I actually think that Travis is going to give us 2 streamer quarterbacks, because I threw out a name earlier in our show notes, and he was like, no, I'm going this guy. So I was like, all right, we'll do that then. But let's open up the show here with obviously some of the bigger major news as far as on the running backs side. My boy, I'm going to pour a little water out for him. My boy Drake, Kenyon Drake, suffered a high ankle sprain. It looked a lot worse, there was a lot more than a high ankle sprain. It looked a lot worse than what ended up happening, but it turns out it was just he ended up tearing a ligament in his foot. It was expected to be a lot worse. He looked in a lot of pain. He was crying, but they're saying it's a few-week injury, Travis. So with that being said, Chase Edmonds, who we've had on this waiver wire article several times, now becomes probably the number 1 waiver wire option for you this week. We don't have to dive super into it because a lot of people are familiar with Chase Edmonds, Travis, and he's also 67% rostered on Sleeper, so we don't often like to talk about guys that are over 50% rostered, but we do want to mention if Chase Edmonds is available on the waiver wire, go out and grab him.
Yeah, so Pro Football Focus had him as the highest ranked player in that Sunday Night Football game. And you have to remember that's a Sunday Night Football game that included Russell Wilson, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett's performance. But Chase Edmonds was one of the highest ranked people in the game, and that's just because, you looked at what he did. 5 attempts, Johnny, for 58 yards. That's an 11.6 average. He also went 7 for 7 for 87 yards. So Kenyon Drake's problem wasn't so much the rushing ability. It was that Kenyon Drake continued to not be used in the passing game, and Chase Edmonds was used in step. And so we know that pass catching is extremely valuable for the running back at the running back position in fantasy. And Chase Edmonds right now is going to have the ability to win you leagues or at least get you in the playoffs, depending on how much time Kenyon Drake is forced to miss.
Yeah, it's kind of wild. They're saying it's a multi-week injury, a few-week injury. They're not really being specific with it. We do know that, Mike Davis has been a plug and play for the last, 8 weeks or 7 weeks, and it's looking like he'll be a play for this week. Or sorry, I should say, because CMC he was there the first week. So you're looking at probably, it was a little bit different injury, of course, but 6-7 weeks, you could, like you said, be looking at Chase Edmonds as a league winner if he's on your waiver wire. All right, now second running back here. This one's going to be a lot more readily available. Only rostered on 14% of sleeper leagues, Travis, and that is running back Carlos Hyde, who saw Chris Carson go down as well with an ankle injury. They are saying it is he is week to week with that ankle injury, but in the meantime, Carlos Hyde came in, saw the bulk of the snaps, 48% of the snaps, and got 19 targets without Chris Carson. So Carlos Hyde, are you liking Carlos Hyde a lot? Is this just like a couple week filler? Where are you looking? Because there's also Rashad Penny, who we don't know when he will be activated off the PUP list. So do you want to talk to Whisper Nation kind of through that and how you view Carlos Hyde?
Yeah, I'm kind of hesitant to boost Carlos Hyde up so much. We did this already. We played this game after the Dallas game where where Chris Carson's knee was rolled up on. We said, go pick up Carlos Hyde. It'll be at least a 1 week rental. It wasn't even that because Carson made it back in time for that Miami game. Now, Carlos Hyde has also dealt with his own issues right now. Right now, he's nursing a little bit of a hamstring, so you got to be careful with that. But with 48% of the snaps last week, he looked pretty good. 15 carries, 68 yards. He also had 4 targets, caught 3 of them in the passing game. They've got a few tough matchups, though, Johnny. San Francisco, Buffalo, and the Rams coming up. So let's say it is 2 to 3 weeks. They're not the best matchups, but in this landscape, with the parity of the NFL, the parity of the running back position right now, you'll want to scoop him up. You need to put a bid in out there for him because he could easily be a flex for you, next week, even against a tough San Fran team, because he could fall into the end zone for a touchdown, and he's going to get the volume here. I don't mind DJ Dallas as a deeper league stash too, because you saw him get worked in a little bit there. And if he provides more juice while Carson's out, I could easily see Pete Carroll switching to the rookie DJ Dallas as well. I wanted to get into a few of these questions we had in the chat.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Zach Jones, thanks for watching. Thanks for the 6 that are watching now. If you guys could get us a thumbs up, we'd really appreciate that. But Zach Jones, thanks for watching. He says, should I do this trade? I get Swift and Stephon Diggs. I give up Robbie Anderson and David Johnson. I kind of don't mind this deal with the way Swift's been used more in the Lions attack. They already had their bye. You could avoid David Johnson's bye here. And Stephon Diggs is the real best player in this whole transaction. Yeah. And I think Diggs has had, decent weeks, even with Josh Allen struggling here. So I don't mind that deal.
And
Steve Stud says,
go ahead. The last thing I do want to say with Swift, he got over 50% of the snap share this week, which is what we wanted to see. So that is an indicator that he is now taking over that primary back role. And the other thing was that it was him, not Adrian Peterson, that's been getting the goal line work over the last couple of weeks. So that is very nice. So I would agree with you. I would do this trade.
Steve Stud says Dalton killed me again. A hug.
Yeah.
Mayfield landed on the waiver. I have Goff and Minshew already, but Minshew has a bye. Should I grab Mayfield? I would not be grabbing Baker Mayfield. He tends to go off here against Cincinnati. That's kind of his thing.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's a low volume passing attack, and I don't think Minshew's worth an ad at this point, or I don't think Mayfield's worth an ad at this point.
No.
I would actually prefer even a Goff. I believe who are the Rams playing? I believe they're playing.
That's a good question.
Yeah, they're playing Miami this week.
Yeah,
so I'm fine with Jared Goff this week.
And then not only that, but then you look at with the OBJ. I mean, we'll get into Rashard Higgins here in the next segment when we talk about wide receivers. But with OBJ going down, I definitely could see them even running even more with Nick Chubb coming back in just a couple of weeks. I could really see them, as the weather starts turning ugly, they're going to be, running the ball 60-70% of the time. So I would agree with you on that. James Martin says week 8, Jamal Williams or Hyde. I don't want to speak for you, Travis, but I will say it is a little too early to make this call right now because we don't know the certainty of either one of these, really. We don't know Chris Carson if he will give it a go. We don't know if Aaron Jones is going to play this next week. So make sure you join in, James. Make sure you join us Sunday morning. We go live at 11. Well, actually, this week because of the clock changes, so it will be 12:30 p.m. or no, still 11:30. I'm getting correct. I live in Arizona.
Do an hour and a half before the game
yeah,
start.
there you go.
We'll be going live, just to avoid that. But James, also what you need to remember here. Let's say they're both out. It's Jamal Williams versus Carlos Hyde, and both the starters are out, meaning Chris Carson and Aaron Jones are out. I would actually roll with Jamal Williams here. I think that he's got the better matchup, the better role secured in his offense, and is the better talent at this point, in my opinion, than Carlos Hyde, because Carlos Hyde has shown flashes. He's also shown that he's not all that great. So I would go with Jamal Williams. But remember, like Johnny said, we go live not only Sunday, we go live Friday, and we give you the news and notes and the injury reports. So make sure you sub to the channel, James, and then you'll know when we're going live. We'll help you out there.
Yeah.
Manuel Gomez says Tua. I do think Tua is worth a stash, especially in deeper leagues, but
not
I would
this
be
week.
A little bit hesitant. Yeah,
not against the Rams
this week. Yeah.
Two QB, two.
Said,
yeah, I don't think that would change in a 2 QB league. I would still be going with the advice there. All right, we have a couple more running backs, Travis. I want to talk about just briefly before we go over to the wide receivers. So Michael P Rein, I know this sounds absolutely disgusting, but he is looking like the starting running back for the New York Jets, and starting running backs have been very, very few and far between this year. So 27% roster on Sleeper. Travis played 70% of the offensive snaps. He had 13 total touches in this game. P Ryan is someone, if you are in desperate need of an RB, I think that you should definitely consider stashing him. He's not the sexiest piece ever, but like you said, it's an RB, a starting RB who's getting, the bulk of the carries there or the bulk of the snaps. And then you're looking at a lot of bye weeks coming up, Travis. We're starting to hit these weeks where there are 4 teams each week on a bye, and that makes it difficult.
Yeah, Michael P Rein is not, like you said, not sexy at all. Not an ad I want to be running to the waiver and using a lot of priority on. But as Johnny said, 13 total touches. You like to see that. They're going to be playing a Kansas City team that is susceptible to the run much more than they are to the pass. So if you're trying to play keep away from Patrick Mahomes, this is how you do it. I don't want to assume rational coaching for the worst coach in the NFL, in Adam Gase, but that is how you would attack Kansas City if you had a brain. We don't know if Adam Gase has one of those. But Michael P Rein worth an ad. I did want to add a guy that's rostered in about 80% of leagues is Jerick McKinnon. And Jerick McKinnon saw like 0 snaps or close to it this last week. And so Jeff Wilson, who got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So people could be dropping Jerick McKinnon this week because they think McKinnon is not good. They think that they don't want to use him, all that. And I don't know what it's going to shake out. We could see Coleman come back. We've got Michael Hasey. All these things are adding up to where McKinnon is not that great of an ad. But I do think he's worth picking up if somebody in your league drops him. Right now, he's rostered in 80% of Yahoo leagues. So that's, he's probably not out there. But watch after the waivers run. If you can pick up McKinnon and stash him, because we did see a game with Jeff Wilson out where McKinnon got 90% of the snap share. Mm-hmm. So I think this will be a revolving door. But they've seen so many injuries, they may be forced to use McKinnon more than they want to.
I would agree with that. Yeah, JaMychal Hasey only 20% rostered on Sleeper. He did play 24% of the snaps, an average 6.3 yards per carry, which was pretty nice. But once again, that is an ever-revolving door. I do like what Travis says with the Jerick McKinnon, and that's almost like we talk about this all the time. Make sure you watch who is dropped in your league for these waiver wire guys, because sometimes those guys are better than the guys that you were trying to go for. So make sure you do that. All right, Travis. So
James Martin did just follow up. I want to comment. They're both on waiver. Should I put Jamal as priority? I would actually put Jamal as a priority over Carlos Hyde. I do think he's got a little bit more upside. I think Aaron Jones will be back before Chris Carson, but I think Williams has more upside for you.
All right. I don't mind that. All right, so let me ask you a couple of guys that you would potentially drop for these running backs. So we did touch on McKinnon. So you said you would not drop McKinnon for any of these guys. What about Cam Akers? Cam Akers, who 2 weeks ago, the Sean McVay was saying, hey, this guy's going to be our starter, and he is basically seen, I think, maybe just a handful of snaps since then, Travis. Like, I'm talking, I have to look up the exact numbers, so let me vet this really
so
quick.
21% of the snaps total in the last 3 weeks. 0% of the snaps last week against Chicago. 2% of the snaps against San Francisco, and 19% of the snaps against Washington. I think Cam Akers is droppable in most leagues, maybe not, obviously not Dynasty, but like you can drop him right now in most redraft leagues, and that's because Darrell Henderson has looked good. Malcolm Brown has looked good as well in the change of pace role. And I just don't know if Cam Akers, who they're invested in as a long-term option maybe, is somebody they're going to be rushing to get pounded with the ball when Henderson and Brown look so good. I just think Cam Akers is not going to be a thing this year.
Yeah, I think it is a long season for sure. And so, yeah, I would agree with Travis. If you're needing a positional piece, definitely I don't mind dropping Akers for one of those pieces as well. All right, let me ask you just a couple of other Kenyon Drake. What are you doing with Kenyon Drake? Are you dropping him? Are you holding? Because it is a multi-week. We don't know the extent. So let's say you are a player that is sitting here with you're 2-4 or 1-5. You just had the Kenyon Drake injury. What are you doing? Are you dropping him for one of these guys? Are you continuing to stash him?
I would stash. I don't think there's anybody on the waiver right now that gives you the same upside Drake would if he came back in time. Because these seem to be, this week it seems to be our running backs or rentals, except for Chase Edmonds, who is rostered really high. So he doesn't really count. It's kind of cheating because a lot of people have stashed Chase Edmonds for this exact reason. And then if you look at, the schedule coming down the stretch, there are some susceptible games here. He's got Seattle down the stretch in 11. Then you got the Rams at 13, the Giants at 14. There's some susceptible matchups here for Kenyon Drake down the stretch. And with this year with COVID, a lot of IR spots were added in your league. So maybe you have the ability to stash Drake. I just don't know if it's worth it this week to drop Drake just yet.
All right. And last running back I'll give you, Justin Jackson. Would you drop Justin Jackson for any of these guys? He did have a pretty decent day yesterday, filling in or being, the 1B in that. He averaged he was able to muster 12 yards on 5 carries, so that wasn't that great, but he did have 5 receptions for 43 yards, which we continued to say that we thought he was going to get the Austin Eckler role. So Justin Jackson, would you drop?
Back-to-back games with 5 receptions, back-to-back game with 6 targets. Does seem that he is the guy they trust as the pass catcher. The knee issue that was bothering him right up till game time does give me some pause, but I'm keeping him once again over some of these guys here because his role is secure in my mind. They want him as the pass catcher. Eckler's injury has been talked about as maybe very much more serious than we thought, and so it's going to be some extended time. You look at games with Denver, Las Vegas, Miami, and the Jets on the schedule. These are very winnable matchups for the Chargers, especially with the way Justin Herbert's playing. So Justin Jackson continues to be a guy I'm holding on to in more cases than not. Should one of the big names like Edmonds be on your waiver and you have to drop Jackson? Yeah, by all means. Like Edmonds has that league-winning upside, but once again, he is rostered in so many leagues. Yeah. I don't see that being a possibility for a lot of GMs out there.
All right, Zach Jones says just accepted the trade. Thanks. Way to go, Zach. That was a great trade for you. All right, but Daniel here, before we jump into the wide receivers, Daniel says, should I do this trade? DK Metcalf and Singletary for Alvin Kamara.
I mean, we need to know a little bit about your roster. This is a little tough for me to give up.
PPR? Is it PPR?
Yeah, is it PPR?
Standard?
But I'll tell you right now, the opportunity to get yourself Alvin Kamara probably needs to be smashed more times than not. So if you have other wide receivers you're confident in, I love the idea, especially in this season, to be trading for running backs as opposed to be trading running backs away. I
Right.
know you'd be giving up on Singletary, but Singletary has not had over 40 yards in almost a month rushing on the ground, and he's only had he's only had one or more catch in the last two or more catches in the last 3 games. So really not doing it for you, especially with Zach Moss back. So yeah, if you can get this done, I would take this deal.
Yeah. All right. A couple more questions here by Whisper Nation before we jump into the wide receivers. We have Steve Stud saying, do you foresee Rojo losing touches to Fournette? Travis, I just want to read this before I pass it to you. So Bruce Arians confirmed that Leonard Fournette is now their passing down back with LaShawn McCoy regulated, if I can, relegated, if I can read right, relegated to the bench. So once what we saw, so Fournette was in this backfield in this last week in the first half usage. This is first half usage. Leonard Fournette was in the game for 69% of the first half snaps, while Ronald Jones was only getting 31% of the remaining snaps. For the complete game, Fournette was on the field for 56%, and Rojo got the rest. So it does seem like the changing of the guard is starting. This is something we've been kind of speculating over the last couple of weeks, Travis, but here's the thing, and this is all honesty. This will be full transparency to Whisper Nation. I have Leonard Fournette, and I'm probably one of the bigger Leonard Fournette fans on this show. I traded away Leonard Fournette in our league of record this past week because of, obviously I didn't see that, this past week hadn't happened yet, the game, but I will say that the back and forth, the consistent back and forth between Rojo and Leonard Fournette and the indecisiveness of Bruce Arians between the two makes me so concerned. We can sit here and say, yes, today on October 27th, I do think that Fournette will take the bulk of these carries, but we saw what happened. It was one play that Ronald Jones messed up on a screen pass where he completely whiffed on the pass catching, and after that was when he got benched. So could that happen in reverse with Leonard Fournette? Could Leonard Fournette miss an assignment or miss a catch and get benched? Absolutely. And so I think that's where you're going to have to play this line of, like, how comfortable do you feel?
Yeah, the thing is I think it's shaping up to be more like a game script dependent split. And we're going to see some situations, and it could be any given day that they decide to give Rojo more touches or Leonard Fournette more touches. But there's no doubt in my mind that if they're going to make Leonard Fournette the designed pass catching back, then he is going to continue to have more value because they'll put him in both pass catching situations and rushing situations, and that especially means in the red zone. And that means that he could easily catch a pass, run it in, be in that same package as they run no huddle, and then they dive in for a touchdown, as opposed to Ronald Jones, whose skill set is a little bit limited. So, yes, if you can get a decent deal, if people still believe in Ronald Jones in the 3 games he had prior to this one with 100 yards rushing, and you can move Ronald Jones, I don't mind that. I do think Fournette holds the rest of season more upside here.
The weeks 14, 15, and 16, I mean, their whole schedule the rest of the way is pretty much easy. They only have 2 difficult matchups. New Orleans Saints and LA Rams are the only top 10 running or D-line or against running backs that they have. But check this out, Travis. In the playoffs, weeks 14, 15, and 16, Minnesota, Atlanta, and Detroit. So if it becomes one or the other, you could be looking at someone who's really getting a lot of touches there. All right, Travis, I want to jump into wide receivers. I know we got a couple more trades going on. We'll touch Whisper Nation's questions in just a minute, but I got to get these wide receiver waiver wire ads out of the way real quick. First one we're going to talk about, obviously we said OBJ, torn ACL, out for the season. He had surgery, I believe, yesterday. So Rashard Higgins stepped in the absence of OBJ. He's only 1% rostered on Sleeper And once he stepped in for OBJ, he got 85% of the snaps, and he demanded 38% of the target market share, Travis. And he plays Dallas this next week, so it even gets even better. Who has the worst?
They play Las Vegas.
Or sorry, they play Las Vegas, who's only Dallas is the only worse pass coverage than Las Vegas. That's what I was trying to go with the Dallas stat there. So you love the matchup there for Rashard Higgins. Where are you? Are you really excited for T. Higgins rest of the season? Or they also have Caldwell Pope.
No,
not Caldwell. Now I'm just messing up.
Donovan Peoples-Jones.
Yes.
The People's Champ. I am not rushing to the waiver. Like, there are guys on the waiver I actually like a lot more than Rashard Higgins. There are guys that I like a lot more than Peoples-Jones. And that would include a Brandon Ayuk if he's rostered low enough in your league. That would include a Nelson Aguilar even.
We'll talk about him in just a second.
It continues to show, some like upside there. So those are guys I would be targeting ahead, but I understand wanting to target this for the matchup. I think he's going to be on the wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 radar. I actually like Jarvis Landry and the tight ends to kind of be the ones that pick up a little bit more usage in this offense over the course of time, but we'll see. I mean, we know Landry's banged up, so if Higgins is the only body breathing, if he's the only one with a pulse, that makes a lot of sense. So I think this was a weird game and had a high over-under. This next one will probably be similar, but once again, Cleveland at any minute could turn to the team that rushes 30 times a game,
right.
and that is a very volatile recipe for you trying to chase points with wide receivers in fantasy. And I think if they're honest, they want to get a win. And if they're honest, I don't know that they loved having to come down to the wire against Cincinnati. They want to go in, impose their will, and run the ball and be done with it. So that's just kind of where I stand on the Browns pass catchers at this point.
I would agree with that. Speaking of Nelson Aguilar, only 6% rostered. Definitely needs to be someone that you should look at. Tied for the team lead in targets last week. He's scored in 3 straight games, and he's scored in 4 out of 6 games. Now, we know the touchdowns are fluky, so that stat is just more of a, hey, that's kind of fun. But one thing you do like here, Travis, with Nelson Aguilar, 1.86 yards per route run. Now, the magical threshold that you really kind of want to look for is above 2 in those routes, yards per route run as far as like a breakout guy. But 1.86 is pretty close to that. And so I definitely think if you're needing a wide receiver, there are way worse options than going out and grabbing a Nelson Aguilar.
Yeah, I do think a little of this is going to be fool's gold because Gruden came out of that game against Tampa Bay and said Tampa Bay did such a great job of bracketing Henry Ruggs and not allowing us to get to Henry Ruggs. I need to manufacture more touches for Henry Ruggs. So I think that the ceiling for Aguilar is capped because of that. The draft capital leans towards Ruggs. They want to get Ruggs more involved, so we can see that. But Aguilar's been doing a lot of good things and running a lot of his routes out of the slot even. And the 9 targets was a season high. The 107 yards was a season high. You see him increasing his season high in yardage over the last 3 weeks, or last 3 games that they've had. And they're going to continue to be in games that they're going to need to kind of throw the ball. They've got Cleveland this week, as we talked about. They've got the Chargers after that, Denver, but then Kansas City again in week 11. So kind of a guy that you could kind of stash, see how he goes. Maybe you don't need to play him right away, but going to have some matchups that you could actually get him out there and try to, be on the flex radar, be on the wide receiver 3 radar for you. And especially in PPR, you like your chances with Nelson Aguilar.
All right, last wide receiver we'll throw out here. He is 82% rostered, but he is definitely someone that you should look for on your waiver. Antonio Brown just signed officially today with Tampa Bay. Now, it's looking like so Scotty Miller is second on the team with 32 receptions. He has 5 targets in all but at least 5 targets in all but 2 games. I would expect Antonio Brown to take the Scotty Miller role in this offense. Travis, can you give us an outlook, though, of what you think this will be? I personally, good, Summy, who is a part of our show, he loves AB rest of season. He tweeted that he thought AB would be a top 10 wide receiver rest of season. Where do you think AB lands? Are you that confident in a top, do you think AB will be top 10? Do you think there are too many mouths to feed now there? I mean, this is looking like a straight up fantasy roster over there in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I would just say it's tough. The incentives that are there in Antonio Brown's deal make it look so like that he would not have accepted this deal without knowing that he was going to be a sure part of this offense. Because it's a lot of catch based, like how many X amount of catches, X amount of yardage, and these things. And it's like, well, why would I come here if I can't even hit those incentives? Especially with Antonio Brown, especially with Bruce Arians saying that if Antonio Brown were to bitch about getting touches, we're going to have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
I think that if Bruce Arians really was truthful and said he's not going to sign here, and Tom Brady flipped the switch for Bruce Arians, they're going to use Antonio Brown. And I would imagine they use Antonio Brown early, especially with the news today that Chris Godwin had surgery on a fractured finger. So we're talking about a situation where Godwin will miss more time. And I do think that this hurts whoever's in the lineup that's not AB, because AB has some established chemistry from one game with Brady. Sure. But Brady has been dying to try and get AB on the field with him since that moment that he did. So I think AB is going to come in and honestly probably be the most consistent wide receiver you can count on. But there are a lot of mouths to feed in this offense because there's not just the wide receivers. Now there's Gronk, and then you've got Leonard Fournette as a pass catcher too. This is not a team I expect down the stretch will need to throw as much as they have been given their defense. So that hurts the wide receivers as well. I would be trying to maybe get out of Chris Godwin if you could sell him off the 2 touchdowns or nearly 2 touchdowns that he scored against the Raiders. You should have been trying to get out of Mike Evans for a few weeks now. And I think AB is a great ad to kind of, that's, because it's the lowest, capital ad you'd have to use to do here. But obviously he's pretty owned in a lot of leagues. I did want to throw out one more wide receiver, Johnny, and that's Brandon Ayuk. He's rostered in 50% of Yahoo leagues. Got 7 targets. Deebo Samuel looking like he's banged up here. Could miss some time. And then you've got Brandon Ayuk getting 7 targets, 6 receptions, 115 yards. He looks to be a prototypical Deebo Samuel replacement, a one-for-one replacement. And we know that he's a super athletic guy. I would love picking him up. He's probably my favorite wide receiver to pick up.
I was just going to ask
all these that are here.
I was going to ask, would he be your number 1 waiver wire priority?
He is. I see Daniel asked about him. Yeah, we've got our eyes on him. He's my number 1 ad, Daniel. I think that's the guy to roll with for wide receiver help. And honestly, I kind of like him more of an ad than excuse me, a little shake up there. That's how much I like him. No, but I like Brandon Ayuk a little bit more than a Carlos Hyde, a Jamal Williams. Some of these other guys that are rentals at the running back position, I think Brandon Ayuk kind of is a guy that could have season-long value here. Especially, he needs to do is establish that rapport with Jimmy Garoppolo, because then even if Deebo were to come back, he could be a guy that he looks to there. So
for sure,
I like Brandon Ayuk. He's probably my best one here. Dan Radley has a question: do I trade Galladay and Corey Davis for Michael Thomas? He's currently 5-2. Johnny, what are your thoughts on that one?
I would not do this deal. There are some current 2 concerns, really. Well, Kenny G, I think, and Michael Thomas could have a very similar second half of the season. And Corey Davis, I wouldn't even mind if you kind of traded him for something else. But my concern with Michael Thomas, it's twofold, right? The concern is, one, that he could get traded. There are rumors flying around everywhere that he could be traded. If that happens, it is very rare that that wide receiver can go to a new system and actually perform. Now, we have seen the elite of the elite wide receivers do this and be fine, and I would consider Michael Thomas elite of elite. But once again, like, his bread and butter is that slant route, and that's a timing route, and so that could be a concern if you were to go to a new quarterback. The other one is, Yeah, he's dealing with a bunch of these injuries. I don't know if these injuries are because the rumors of him, wanting to be traded and they're trying to find a trade partner and so they don't want to get him injured. I don't know if he's actually injured with the hamstring, how his ankle is still feeling. So there are just so many questions for me about Michael Thomas at this current point. And if you're 5-2, and I just would prefer Galladay, just regular season, over Michael Thomas personally.
Yeah, I mean, at least Galladay's been on the field and continues to get a great target market share, continues to be a guy that scores touchdowns or gets yardage, one or the other. And, dude, some of these catches Galladay makes, I just have to say this because I'm gushing, like, some of these catches are amazing. So, not that equates to, a bunch of fantasy usage or a bunch of fantasy points, but he's on the field right now. And, yes, with the trade concern and all these things, we have no idea. And, like, the other emerging weapons, like, Emmanuel Sanders has had good games in this offense.
Yep.
Traquan Smith, even the rookie
Callaway and
yeah.
Callaway, Marcus Callaway, I believe is his name.
Yeah, but I'm not sure his name. But even Jared Cook getting involved here too. So I just think that Michael Thomas is not what we thought he was, and I don't know that I would be rushing to go trade for him at this point.
Yeah,
I actually got out of a few shares of Michael Thomas this year so far.
Yeah, so there's Marquez, Callaway, and then Deontay Harris actually looks pretty good too as well.
That's who I was talking. Yeah, Deontay Harris. That's the guy I was. Let's see. Daniel says, which one should I depend on, Deontay Johnson or Claypool? I think Claypool's market share has been more consistent. The problem is that Deontay's dealt with injuries.
Oh.
Yeah, did I say Claypool? Sorry.
Yeah, you said Claypool.
I said Deontay's. Look, Deontay, I think for me is going to be the more consistent play if he's healthy.
Mm-hmm.
It's Claypool who's got the upside because they keep using him in unique ways, but he is going to have a floor in some games because he is a rookie and because they are using him in rushing attempts, and sometimes the game doesn't, go that way for them to do that. So I think I would really be going with Deontay Johnson rest of season.
And he just seems to be that kind of apple in Ben's eye. You can kind of see it when they're in the huddle. I mean, I will admit I have Deontay Johnson rostered on a lot of leagues, and so I do like watching him. I think he's fun, but you can see, like, even when they're in the huddle and stuff, you can see Ben Roethlisberger, like, or just like, you could tell there's a relationship there. So I do like Deontay Johnson. I do think Claypool, because he's a rookie, he will be more up and down. Dan Radley. Am I pronouncing that right? I'm terrible at his name. Dan Radley. Appreciate the help, guys. Subbed. Awesome. That makes our day.
Appreciate you, Dan. Yeah,
anybody who's new to our channel, if you want to hit that sub, hit that bell so you get notified anytime we put out new content, which is daily. We go live on Fridays and Sundays, and then decided to go live today. So here we are. But yeah, if you are new to our channel and hit that sub, let us know. We will give you a shout out on the live stream. We appreciate you guys. All right, we're getting a couple of questions rolling in before we end the stream. I do want to say, Travis, I'll give a quarterback stream I like this week. It would be Jimmy G. He plays Seattle this week, which is number 2 in points allowed to the quarterback position. So I think if you need a streamer, Jimmy G is someone that you'll be able to find on your waiver wire because he hasn't been playing particularly well, but you love this matchup. I know that you liked a different quarterback, Travis, this week. So why don't you give your quarterback streamer of the week?
Yeah, I think it's, BD Joe Burrow, baby. I think Joe Burrow coming off his best game of the year, 39 points. Now, granted, his two 32-point game or his 2 30-point games have come against Cleveland and both have come against Cleveland. But he's playing Tennessee this week, and I think Tennessee's been giving up quite a bit of points to the quarterback, and that should be a shootout as Cincinnati tries to keep up. So give me Joe Burrow again this week. I doubled down on Joe Burrow, but I wanted to get to Brett's question. He said, need a streaming quarterback. But he's got Brady there. Like, you're going with Brady.
Go
right
get
now.
Brady, dude.
Dealing right now,
and
that's the one you go with.
He's going to be so good for this down the field. Yeah, you can pick up Brady and probably use him for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I think Brett's concern is that he says right here, I just see them not passing them much against the Giants and putting up a dud. I just don't know if you can turn down the upside here if we're trying to predict game script. Brady's just loaded on weapons. I think he could get it into any different guys, and Remember, this is Bruce Arians and Brady
Yeah.
combined. They don't care about running the score up. They're gonna
No.
continue to run the score up. So we saw it last week against Vegas, in back-to-back drives. So I would keep rolling Brady out there. I think he just gets better. Coop Dog says, "Is this a good trade for me? I give Chris Carson and Amari Cooper for Aaron Jones. My other receivers are Godwin, Thielen, and Ridley."
I would have felt
I love this deal. Like Amari Cooper with who knows at quarterback, Chris Carson with the banged up injury, Aaron Jones only has a calf, which they said he probably could have played through. Yeah, get this deal done.
Yeah, I would definitely do.
Yeah, you got Thielen and Ridley there, and then obviously Godwin, I think, will have up and down games, but I like that deal.
Yeah.
Trevor Higgins says he subbed. Appreciate that,
Appreciate
Trevor.
you,
Appreciate
man.
you guys all. 16 watching. If we could get those likes up, we got 4 likes. We need to get those rookie numbers up here. We need some more likes. Chris Henry says, "Hey guys, need to add a defense for the rest of season. Choose 2 best defense rest of season: Cleveland, Tennessee, and Kansas City." Kansas City leads this one for me, just because of the way that they play. They're going to have all these teams trying to throw into them a bunch. So rest of season, I like Kansas City. And then second would be Tennessee. I think they can start to figure things out as the weather turns. They're going to be a run ball control defense or ball control team. So I like that. Let's see, Lamar or Brady. Ooh, I don't know if this is this week or rest of season, but it's kind of interesting to go this route regardless. I actually like where Brady's at. He's not going to be playing in New England like he has been for the rest of the season of his home games. Yeah, warm weather. And Lamar, Baltimore has not proved to me to be as efficient on offense as they were last year, which we knew regression was coming. So give me Brady. I know this sounds kind of crazy, but I'm going to roll with Brady here. What do you think of Jacobs' matchup? Is he worth playing this week? So we haven't really dived too much into some of these matchups. We got Friday though.
Yeah,
Go for it, Johnny.
So, yeah, like Travis said, we haven't fully dived into a lot of these matchups yet for this week. We're starting to do that now. But I will say I did because we had a listener DM us with a question about Josh Jacobs. And I am majorly concerned about Josh Jacobs, not only as far as like his health-wise. He hasn't looked great since the first few weeks of the season. But then check this out. Hold on. I'm trying to quickly pull this up really quick. His schedule is not the greatest moving forward. You're looking at this weekend, he plays Cleveland, who they have a pretty stout defense, but I don't mind playing them this week. We saw that they can let up points. But then, Travis, look at this. L.A. Chargers afterwards. You don't like that. Denver, who's been pretty stout against the run. Kansas City, Atlanta. You like the Atlanta one. New York Jets, you like that one. But then weeks 14, 15, 16, he gets Indianapolis, then the Chargers again, and then Miami. You like week 16. But it's just a really difficult matchup, for rest of season. If I can kind of trade Josh Jacobs, I probably would try. But this week, I think you're okay with playing Josh Jacobs in a matchup against Cleveland.
Splishy XD says, "Do I trade CEH for Kareem Hunt?" No, I'd actually keep on to CEH here. With Chubb coming back, I think CEH is going to kind of fight off Le'Veon Bell more weeks than not. So I would hold on to CEH. I think he's going to, especially on that offense, you can kind of you can bank that a little bit more. Should I pick up Go Crazy TV? Should I pick up Nelson Aguilar? Yeah, I think Aguilar is worth an ad. Just depends on who you're dropping. If you guys want to watch back what we talked about earlier, you can here. Other than that, I think we're wrapped up here. For tight end, just wanted to speak briefly. Pick up Harrison Bryant.
Yeah.
If you'd like to. I think he's the ad if you're thinking about a tight end to pick up. But yeah, that's what I would rock with there.
I also want one more. I'll give you one bonus one. If you get real desperate at tight end, Richard Rodgers. Yes, Richard Rodgers, who it's looking like the tight ends for Philly will be out again this week, so he becomes the number one tight end for Philly, and we know how much Carson Wentz likes to go to the tight end position. So Richard Rodgers is a cheap alternative if you need a streamer this week. All right,
All
Travis, that's it. That's our waiver wire show. Appreciate all 19 of you that have joined our live stream. We appreciate you guys so much. Please hit that thumbs up. We would greatly appreciate that. And if you're new to our channel, please sub. We will be going live again this Friday, and then we will go live again on Sunday to get you ready for those lineup matchups. But good luck this week on waivers for my man, Big Travie. I'm Johnny Game Time Hicks, and we're the Fantasy Whisperers, and we're out. Peace.
Peace.